Yo, what's up again? It's me, Maroli. I think this one is gonna be almost a highly controversial one, because I wanna I wanna talk about something that we often shy away from, which I think this conversation and was sparked by the fact that in South Africa, and I guess even around the world, the rappers, for example, in the US, who did not really come from that ghetto background and everything, it always felt like they don't have, much of a story. Just because, for example, Kanye's mom was, an academic, therefore he doesn't have that appeal story, and therefore, then I can't learn anything from you. The fact that the the story that is said, I think my opinion is that it's because that sells. But I think in South Africa, the generation, yeah, late 80s 90s will sort of at least have better stories, and stories that do not necessarily reflect the sadness or poverty that people can almost at least be able to learn from. And that's at least if one is privileged or lucky to have not dealt with certain aspects that would have been difficult for uh, our generation. So, it's also well documented that privilege and luck plays an important role, and has been a source, for example, of even in South Africa, of big, when you look at the big tech companies that have been founded in South Africa, I think dating from the Mixit guys, from the, Mark Shuttleworth, even when you look at him and people who founded their company, it was partly because I one would attest, there was an element of privilege in that they were at, Bishop's, one of the most expensive schools now, even at the time. So that would mean that there's some element of privilege, but um, yes, not withstanding the fact that one still needs to put on certain things. Sometimes you just find that the fact that they had met each other, or the fact that you were in a certain circle at a certain time. I've had opportunities that came from me because we were just chilling with certain friends. Yeah, be it that we went to varsity together. And I think my biggest let's say element of luck, for example, was when we had spent years trying to build a magazine on campus, my campus magazine, in fact. And we, it was the issue of a very catchy, nice website was a problem, like for years. And then one day, Smuda, one of my friends, even to this day, he hits me up and he's like, dude, I've been trying to build something like this. I see you've got this. Let's meet up. And then when it comes through, this guy has learned WordPress for like years, and he's just cracked it. And that just became an accelerator element to the magazine. We didn't make a lot of money from it, but we got link building deals. We got promotional deals from agencies in Joburg and Cape Town, because there was a website. But because it was just a thing of, I met this guy and he had skills that complemented mine, and we got the ball rolling. Was that luck? Maybe, but there was an element of work that I've put in. But having and meeting that kind of a person wherein you are able to complement each other becomes an issue. And it's well spoken about, and I've said it even before, that personally, for example, Yes, it can be that, oh, dude, sometimes when you meet people and it's like, oh, yeah, you went to vets and therefore you deserve these opportunities. You've got an MBA, and therefore, I can trust you with certain opportunities because you're going to have a certain kind of an understanding. But part of an ability to have been, graduated in that school for one, being able to get into vets. And also it meant that I came from a family. I mean, I remember even as early as my grade 10 or 11, my aunt would like literally bought a computer because one of my subjects, not sure if it's still there now, was computer application technology, and that sort of accelerated. I mean, literally took me from maybe getting 40s and 50s in computer up to grade 12, where I got a distinction in computer applications technology, and became the number one student in the subject in matric at the time, when initially no one would have thought that. And so, and then that might be privilege. And then moving on to matric, because I didn't have to be the guy who was expected to cook or to clean or look after my siblings, or for my transport money to school, or worry about lunch and all that. That was all catered for by my family. Then it just gave me enough time maybe to study and end up at vet, and also even there, be able to like study whatever whenever time, and have academics paid for, and have your rest paid for, and therefore have enough time to study. Luck might be, but also although there has been some element of effort. And then even post my studies, the fact that I could go on for an honors, because I wasn't, my family was not expecting for me to look after anyone. And also even post my honors, I went on to go and work. And I think I started work in like June, and then by Jan I had already resigned because I was a town planner, and had been a digital guy. And then I felt, oh no, yeah, maybe it's time I went back and go and even do like an MBA, one of the most expensive courses. But the fact that I wasn't having anyone to look up to after through work meant that I was able to do that. And even post doing the MBA in South Africa, and with challenges that were there, went on to an exchange program, so like those kind of years meant that I could be able to cushion around and be able to use that sort of privilege. Lucky that I had the parents that I did, from the family that I did, yes, and but at some time it's just a matter of privilege and luck and effort, meeting up. But I feel that once we are able to accept that element of privilege, and then once we are able to use that to sort of almost accelerate ourselves, that puts us even in a better, more way to in fact be able to help others, be able to be different, be able to accelerate our sort of careers. But what I think also it's fundamental to mention is exactly that often you'll find that um, I mean, I'll speak for South Africa because that's where I spend a lot of time of my life. You have found that privilege has breeded um, some form of arrogance. So you would hear people saying, for example, black people don't read, but if you really are a middle class, non-black family, and you've got a helper in your house, of course you'll be able to read because your driver fetches your key. So that creation of your time in your sense, it has had that. And not acknowledging that can make one be able to make such generic statement. And also, with that said, we've seen that there are certain people who have been able to make it, walking to school 2 kilometers, and all that. And that's good. So the fundamental element, I guess, is that different people have different backgrounds, and all that needs to be acknowledged. And even if also which is also another thing that we often tend to forget, would be that even if certain people have come from certain privileges, and have been lucky to meet certain people, them as an agent have failed to use those structures to be able to progress. So that's also another thing, because it does not necessarily automatically mean that, if a certain person has got, their background, and both their parents, for example, are doctors, then that would automatically lead them to be a doctor. Some element would still require them to put a certain effort, although not equal to someone who did not have, for example, parents who were doctors would be there. So it's a thing that I feel needs to be acknowledged, but I feel has also been ignored, and they're not acknowledging that lack and privilege element of it, and in certain things has resulted in uh, people almost simplifying things, and then that has sort of not resulted in some form of unity in terms of moving forward. Because if I don't understand your context, then you don't understand mine. We fail to sort of have that ability to move forward. Yeah, I mean, it's just my opinion. I'm not trying to say that these are facts. I'm just trying to say that, this is the way I see it, and yeah, happy to engage with whoever who feels, otherwise. Cheers. See you in the next video.